Reacting to my predictions from the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League. Since the final draw takes place before the quarterfinal stage, I picked all 3 rounds in one go. You may have seen my last video reacting to my picks from the knockout round and the round of 16. I've linked it below. These videos are always fun to make, and the reactions make me really question my picks sometimes. Before we get going, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my longer videos. So, how accurate were my predictions? Let's kick things off with the Champions League, where I did a decent job comparatively. As you'll find out as this video progresses, this is why I don't actually bet on games. We already reacted to my predictions from the knockout stage and the round of 16, so we kick it off at the quarterfinal stage. Atletico de Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund. I picked Atleti, not really sure why, but I've been picking against Dortmund all tournament long, and it cost me. BVB didn't have the best season domestically, but they truly impressed me against Atleti, turning it around. Down 2-0 with 10 minutes left in the first leg, Sebastian Haller halved the deficit and made the second leg comeback possible. One wrong so far. PSG versus FC Barcelona. I picked PSG. What is it with Barca lately? This one was obvious to me, and I got so many wrong. Barca actually did well in the first leg to win 3-2 in Paris, but it all unraveled in the second leg. Are they just missing playing at the Camp Nou? Barca were up 1-0 and 4-2 on aggregate, but Araujo's red card after 30 minutes tipped the tie to Paris. Mbappe's 89th minute goal just added insult to injury and made it 6-4. One right, one wrong so far. FC Bayern versus Arsenal. Why did I pick Arsenal? I don't know. Maybe I was thinking the Harry Kane curse would kick in a little early. Maybe it's because the Gunners were in a really good run of form. They were a little unlucky not to come away with a win in the first leg in London. And then, before the second leg, a loss to Aston Villa in the Premier League derailed their title hopes and maybe demoralized them a bit before heading to Bavaria. One right and 2 wrong. Real Madrid versus Manchester City. I picked Real Madrid. What is it about Real Madrid in the Champions League? This was a blockbuster quarterfinal with the 2 favorites matched up, and it produced 2 classics. Momentum was swinging like a pendulum in the first leg. City were chasing the game in the second leg and dominated statistically, but Real Madrid held on and won it in penalties to advance. 2 right and 2 wrong through the quarterfinals. On to the semifinals, PSG versus Borussia Dortmund. At least I got half the teams right in the semifinals. I thought PSG would defeat Atletico, but if you told me they were going up against Dortmund, I still would have picked PSG. Both of these games were very close. Dortmund withstood the pressure in Paris and kept 2 clean sheets. Very impressive and worthy of passage to the final. 2 right and 3 wrong. Real Madrid versus FC Bayern. I picked Real Madrid. If you're picking Madrid to get this far, you probably should pick them to win it all, even against FC Bayern, who have delivered some classic games against the competition's record champions. These 2 games were some of the most entertaining European fixtures this year. A draw in Munich set up the second leg perfectly. Bayern actually took the lead through Alphonso Davies, playing further forward than usual, and it looked like Tuchel had got the tactics spot on. But then something inexplicable happened. After Harry Kane was subbed off, Real Madrid didn't just go for the draw, they won it in regulation. A spilled save from Manuel Neuer allowed Joselu to pounce and poke home the prototypical poacher's goal with 2 minutes left. And 3 minutes later, another goal for Joselu gave Madrid the lead. We then saw one of the worst calls of the season when the assistant flagged for offside and the referee blew the whistle prematurely. Bayern were denied an equalizer and VAR couldn't overturn it. Kind of shambolic, to be honest. Either way, 3 right, 3 wrong, heading to the final. Real Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund. I thought it would be Real versus PSG. I picked Real Madrid, and it was Real Madrid who delivered with their 15th Champions League trophy. It's ridiculous to comprehend the scale of this achievement. No one else has more than 7. Overall for the Champions League, we went 4-3. Next up, the Europa League. Will we fare any better here? Just like the Champions League, we start from the quarterfinals. Liverpool versus Atalanta. I picked Liverpool. Nobody was predicting this, but Atalanta thrashed Liverpool. They were red hot and deserved to lift the trophy after only 1 loss in Europe all season. The return leg 0-1 against Liverpool. Looking back at things, this game should have put more respect on Atalanta's name. Beating Liverpool 3-0 at Anfield is unheard of. For the Europa League so far, 0 right, 1 wrong. Benfica versus Marseille. I picked Benfica. I was feeling pretty good about this pick about 55 minutes into the first leg, where Benfica led 2-0 at home. Then, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scored with about 20 minutes left and kept Marseille alive heading into leg 2. A 1-0 home win meant extra time and penalties. Marseille converted all 4 of their spot kicks, and with Di Maria and Antonio Silva unable to score their penalties, Benfica were eliminated. AC Milan versus AS Roma. I picked Milan. Feel like I have to apologize apologize to Roma fans because I underestimated them again. Milan had 25 shots in the first leg, but were unable to find the back of the net at San Siro. Leg 2 in Rome saw the hosts take a 2-0 lead after 22 minutes with Mancini and Dybala scoring, but a Shelik red card 10 minutes later gave Milan a chance, theoretically. The Rossoneri's lone goal came with just 5 minutes to go, and it was still 3-1 at that point. Bravo to Daniele De Rossi and his squad for proving me wrong. 0-3. Bayer Leverkusen versus West Ham. I picked Leverkusen. Who in their right mind was going to pick against Bayer Leverkusen in the midst of a heroic run? Certainly not me. West Ham really made the Werkself work for it, defending impressively. The Hammers had just one shot compared to Leverkusen's 33, but it took 83 minutes for Bayer to find the breakthrough. In London, it was more balanced, with Michael Antonio opening the scoring, but Jeremy Frimpong's last-minute goal earned a draw and kept Leverkusen's unbeaten run rolling. 1-3, heading to the semifinals. Marseille versus Atalanta. I thought it would be Benfica and Liverpool. I picked Liverpool to topple Benfica, but both of these sides were done and dusted. Atalanta earned a draw in Marseille in the first leg before a 3-0 win, and Bergamo secured passage to the final. Neither of the teams I picked were there, so we gotta count that as a loss. 1 win, 4 losses. Semifinal number 2, AC Milan versus Bayer Leverkusen. That's what I expected. In reality, it was Roma against Leverkusen. Either way, I had picked Leverkusen. After a 2-0 win in the first leg in Rome, Leverkusen had to feel that they'd go through. But the second leg made it interesting after Leandro Paredes scored not once, but twice from the penalty spot to level things with 25 minutes to go. Leverkusen were in jeopardy of losing their unbeaten streak and going out. But as they showed again and again, Bayer battled back and forced an own goal with 8 minutes to play, enough to send them through. But Josip Stanisic, the Bayern loanee, scored in the 97th minute to earn a draw and preserve the unbeaten run. 2-4, heading to the final. Liverpool versus Leverkusen was how I saw it panning out. In reality, it was Atalanta against Leverkusen, and Atalanta bullied Bayer Leverkusen. With a 3-0 win, Atalanta were the only side to beat Xabi Alonso's Werkself this season and ended a 51-game unbeaten run, the longest in football history. This game wasn't even close. My Europa League record, 2-5. Well, I got one finalist correct, but after the Champions League, my predictions went straight downhill. My overall record is now 5-9, and it's only getting worse. So buckle up for the Conference League. Honestly, I couldn't have been much more wrong with these picks. Right from the start, I picked the first 3 quarterfinal matchups incorrectly. To be fair, there were a lot of close contests, and penalties were decisive on multiple occasions. Victoria Pilsen versus Fiorentina. I picked Pilsen. Just because Fiorentina reached the final doesn't mean this was a bad pick. The first leg finished scoreless, and Fiorentina required extra time to beat 10-man Victoria Pilsen in Florence. That said, Pilsen were outshot 42-2 in the second leg and didn't have a shot for the final 60 minutes of the match plus extra time. After a red card, all they could hope for was a miracle on penalties. 0-1 to start the Conference League. Olympiacos versus Fenerbahce. I picked Fenerbahce. In reality, it was Olympiacos. This was a tie for the ages. A 5-goal first leg set the tone, Olympiacos racing out to a lead, Fener battling back to keep it interesting. An early goal in the second leg evened things, but with so little to separate the sides, it went to penalties. A Leonardo Bonucci miss sent Olympiacos through. 0-2. Club Brugge versus PAOK. I actually picked PAOK. Brugge were on top from start to finish, scoring 6 minutes into the first leg. PAOK kept it close, but a Ferran Jutkla double in the second leg in Thessaloniki ended hopes of a comeback. 0-3. Aston Villa versus Lille. I picked Aston Villa, obviously. The second quarterfinal matchup to go to penalties, and both were insane. A late goal in the first leg gave Lille a chance. The French were up 2-0 in the second leg, heading through, but Matty Cash struck 3 minutes from time to take it to extra time. Penalties followed, and of course Emi Martinez stole the show. Villa won, got me a win, 1-3, heading to the semifinals. Fiorentina versus Club Brugge. I thought it would be Pilsen versus PAOK, and I picked PAOK. So this one's a loss either way. Fiorentina dominated statistically once again, outshooting Brugge 31-5 in the first leg, but the hosts needed a 91st minute goal to take a 3-2 lead to the second leg. It was more Italian dominance in the second, and again, they required a late goal to settle it. Lucas Beltran scoring an 85th minute penalty to cancel out Hans Van Aken's opener that leveled things on aggregate. Neither of the clubs that I picked advanced, so this one counts as a loss. 1 and 4. Semifinal number 2, Aston Villa versus Olympiacos. I thought it would be Villa versus Fener. This was the point in the season when Aston Villa hit empty on the gas tank. Olympiacos were the better side over 2 legs, and their fans impressed me so much. Villa went down 2-0 early at home before leveling things up, but it was too much to recover after heading to Piraeus down 4-2. After a first leg hat-trick, Ayoub El-Kaabi bagged a brace in the second leg. Those 5 goals vaulted him to the top of the Conference League scoring charts. 1 and 5 heading to the final. Somehow I picked Aston Villa versus PAOK. In reality, it was Olympiacos versus Fiorentina. PAOK were nowhere near the final, losing to Fiorentina in the quarters. Villa out in the semis against Olympiacos. It was a very tight contest in the final, which went to extra time. Olympiacos were the team of destiny in the Conference League this season. They had their eyes on the prize since entering the competition, with the final to be played in Athens just up the road from Piraeus. And Ayoub El-Kaabi would be the man to lead them there, scoring 11 goals in 9 games across the tournament, including the winner in the final just 5 minutes from the end of extra time. Conference League record 1 and 6. Like I said, not great. How did we net out on the final score? Overall record 7 and 14. There's no way to sugarcoat that. It's just a bad performance. We're evaluating everything from top to bottom and maybe need to appoint a new manager for these picks next season. To be fair, I did get 2 of the finalists correct, 1 in the Champions League, 1 in the Europa League, and I even got 1 winner with Real Madrid. Can't wait to pick these again next year. I always try to have fun with these and pick some upsets, but maybe it's a bad strategy. If you got all the way here, you're an absolute legend. Thank you for watching and supporting the content. Let me know what types of videos you want to see next. Not sure I'll predict any of the summer tournaments. I might need to take a break for a bit. Thank you, Footy Fam. A special thanks to the VIPs and Ultras who are paid subscribers on the Footy Fam Patreon. This video wouldn't be possible without your support. If you want to see your name in the credits and get other awesome perks like BTS content and more, make sure to subscribe via the link in the description.